Nice to be here talking about cameras. I tried to find on the broker, network. There's 1,000 people here, and I'm pretty sure that there's 2 people that do cameras out of those 1,000. For everyone else, cameras is very, very. Oh, we got them in a box. What do we do with the cameras? Any guesses on what year was the camera made that this photo was taken? It was last year taken, or? Any guesses?
1930.
1930. Okay, it was 1959. So, anyhow, it's shot on film, fresh in Finland, and film cameras have always been at the core of camera store. And in film cameras, we are Europe's largest. We find and buy the film cameras. We add value, so we have the biggest mechanical camera repair in Europe. And then we deliver to around 100,000 people cameras around the world. We are over 60 camera geeks in Finland and a few in Sweden, and we do everything from one consumer to the other consumer. All the repairs, all the buy-ins, all the assessments, everything this ecosystem does for laptops, we do it in-house. So I wanted to just start with the basic difference, and maybe that gives you an insight of the future of maybe circular electronics. So we're going to look at a phone, laptop, digital camera, and film camera. Time that they've been in use in years, active amount of users that one unit gets, how much they depreciate over time, and the amount of repairs needed to keep them going. And then how much they totally generate lifetime euros and how much they generate lifetime euros per year. And this, I guess most of you guys could be schooling me on, but it's the basic lifestyle of a mobile phone. Maybe 2 users, 1 screen repair in between. It generates maybe 700 euros, 140 a year if it stays for 5 years in circulation. This is why everyone's hunting iPhones. It stays one more loop inside. It is higher price in the beginning. It fixes or stays in the price a longer time, and it generates a very much bigger number and a very much bigger number per year also. Then when we go into corporate laptops, they don't have so much external repairs done to them. It's always within the system. Your companies do it, but it drops from 1,500 to 500 and maybe to 200 still if it finds a third user. Again, it's roughly 220. And then we get into my world, cameras. So a digital camera stays total time in use around 20 years. So we are still selling and buying DSLR cameras from 2005 for 400 euros a pop. And they are designed to last longer. They're in like a closed system. You just take the photos out of them. So it's in the design to last longer. And that means that it has 5 users. It means that it generates a lot of more total value. Of course, this is a professional camera, 3,000 euro camera, so even the beginning price is higher than the phones. And it generates quite a lot in the years. And you need to clean it in between and sometimes within the user's lifetime. And then we get to the fun part, film cameras. Ta-da! So this is a film camera made in the 1930s. It's still in use. It's not the same camera that took the photo, but it could have been the same camera. And obviously, price dropping of a film camera is, yes, there was a huge price drop in the early 2000s, but apart from that, it was very even for the first 70 years, and then it's been increasing since the early 2000s. It's designed to last 100 years, but it needs heavy repairing in between. So it needs a full disassemble and reassemble in between. And this is a calculation of a film camera during 100 years. It generates, roughly 165 euros per year by being circulated every 10 years from a user to another, and by being repaired every 20 years. And my point of this is not to say that, hey, cameras are so good. Let's all start doing cameras because they make more sense. Obviously, there is a reason why I'm the only one doing cameras, and we'll get to that. But there are 3 reasons why the use of laptops or iPhones or whatever might get longer. There are legislative reasons. Regulation makes them last longer. There are global trade reasons that we just cannot get them because of a global problem, let's say. Or then brands start to figure out that, hey, I can actually own, like, that film camera. The original brand got 3,000 for it, but the whole lifetime of it was 16,500. So if you own the long tail, you can get same money from the same product that you've already created. And this can maybe change how some companies do items, how they do cars. For example, Porsche does cars that have a long tail, and they get much more money from a Porsche than a Seat for a longer period. And this might change your businesses too. Okay, so then going back to cameras, what's the catch? Why isn't this circular camera thing like convention? Like why is everyone buying laptops? Why isn't there a thing like this for cameras? Well, we have a few problems. First, only consumers have cameras. There are no companies that have a lot of cameras. We cannot buy 200 of the same camera. We cannot buy even 100 of the same camera. Best has maybe been 10 from an insurance company at some point that had insurance, guy taking photos of the. So consumers only have cameras, and getting stuff from consumers is harder. We do it with 2 different ways. First of all, you can do it by post. So everywhere in Europe, EU is very easy. Outside of EU has a bit of customs issues, but you can do it by post. Or then we have 4 locations where you can walk into our store and just drop the cameras off. So then the second problem is that only consumers want cameras. So you cannot wholesale them to anyone. You cannot sell 10. Well, you can sell 10 to a university, but that you can't sell 100 of the same used camera to anyone. There's no one buying it. So you can't wholesale, so you have to sell straight to the consumer. And how do we do that? Well, we have an e-commerce store, camerastore.com. You can browse it. We sell to a huge amount of countries every year, and the packages leave straight from us in Finland one by one. And to engage with people all across the globe, these are our Instagram accounts, Camera Store, that's the official one. You can see that it takes quite a lot of work. There's 2,025 posts that someone has had to make for Instagram to reach the people. And this is kind of what I run myself. It's called Camera Rescue, and I've done 2,538 posts into Instagram to keep that organic community reach, or to get it basically during the years. So what does it actually look like? Well, we bought 58,000 pieces of gear from 41 countries, from 10,000 different people last year. And then we are on e-com to 99 countries, to 24,000 different people. And everything flowed through this little spot in Finland. Then the problem number 3. cameras take a lot of special technician know-how. So we don't have a place to, cameras, you can't plug this camera from 1988 anywhere and say, is it good or not? Like there's no automation. We need to give it to a camera technician who needs to have special tools to see if the light meter works, if the shutter speeds are still correct, and what's wrong with it. So you need to train people, and for that I don't want to go so much into it. But if you want to see, there's a YouTube 93-minute behind the scenes video. It has over 500,000 views by American engineer walking through our process, basically. And it's from 2022, so we were 25 people at that point, so it's a bit smaller process than nowadays, but you can still get the idea of how much those cameras take in terms of making sure that they just work. So that means that roughly 20% of those 58,000 can be repaired to work. 20% cannot be repaired or processed profitably, and 50% can be refurbished. So even those we have to refurbish and clean and change the light seals and do physical work for them. But that's the rough spread of how cameras or the photographic items go through us. And then there's 10% are miscellaneous. Spare parts, they go to either spare parts or trash or something, basically. Then there's the problem that nothing has a barcode. So when it arrives, I can't beep it. I can't know what it is by, I can know from reading FE2, but the machine cannot know what it is. So we have to, again, teach the technicians or the staff to recognize. And what it actually means is that we've created our own catalog that has now 39,460 different SKUs of things that we bought in. And then you can see that, okay, this is from the 70s, that's a Soviet thing from the 80s, that's from the 90s, so forth. So we've created this database. This has the number of how many units have gone through of that same model, what are the prices, what did we pay for them, what did we quote for them, how big percentage failed, why they failed, blah, blah, blah. So we have this catalog that we have created. This is obviously a lot easier with iPhones. The catalog is quite short. It's not 39,000 SKUs. So to sum up, I want to have a lot of time for questions because I know that this will have questions. So I was asked to talk about this. So what make this D2C circular economy possible? So obviously you need to know the products in your vertical world class. There can't be, there always will be customers that know more about the stuff than you, or I think at least they think they know more about that same model. In our case, it's very obvious because they've been using some camera model for 20 years. Obviously, they know that model quite a lot better than if we see it once in the catalog and our technician does it. But anyhow, you need to know the vertical very well. Then you need to have a strong online community. You need to be able, for example, now after today, I have in Stag's Head pub, I have a meetup of the Irish analog film photography gang. So I just sent out an email that, hey, to our customers that, hey, I'm in town for doing this talk. Do you want to meet at the pub? And already 20 people have said that, yeah, I'm coming. So there's this connection to people that's global, and I've done this in Oman or I've done this in Japan, and always people show up, and there's this connection within the film community. Obviously, this is much harder to do in something that people are not as passionate about as film or film photography, but you still need to have an access to that online community. Then you need to have long customer lifetime value customers. You cannot be paying for ads to reach them all the time, or basically then you're just funding Meta or Google with your business. That doesn't work. So you need to have a reason for them to come back to you, not just Google that model and find the cheapest possible. Then you need a lot of circulatable material. People are not willing to sell, like not 100% of people are willing to sell in a certain year, not even 50, probably not even 20 or 10. We had a story in our Helsinki store where 3 people came from the same address the same week, and then they asked the third guy, like, why are you selling from this address? And they told that, oh, we have a plumbing renovation coming into the building, apartment building. So everyone needs to empty out their houses. So that's the reason we got 3 people selling cameras on the same week from the same address, because they needed to empty the house, the whole apartment building for that. Then you also obviously need an agile and flexible ERP to manage all the products and how they go through the process, and that we built ourselves. And then of course you need determined and capable engaged staff that actually want to be correct when they receive the stuff, want to do right by the customer in both ends, in the buying and selling, and want to be in a team solving these kind of problems that we have. Our promise, we provide something old for every photographer in the world to enjoy, and now we are entering the time of questions.
What are the main motivations behind people, the consumers returning cameras to you?
Selling, you mean, or
returning, sending it to you?
Okay, so I think most want the camera to be still used. So we have a tendency that we buy from different people than we sell. In some circular economy models, you buy and sell from the same community. We tend to buy from people who have film cameras, which is pretty much every household, and then we sell to the ones that are enthusiastic about film cameras, which is not every household. It's a much smaller portion of people, but it's still enough globally for us to grow. And I think that's the main reason. Money is, of course, getting money for it is nice, but it doesn't seem to be the biggest driver.
I obviously know that you have a long experience of everything that you have built, but as a founder, what would have you done differently in case you managed to start from the scratch?
If I start now from scratch, I would. Well, it took us over 10 years to get into a position where we are scalable now. So we got the ERP, we got the database, we got the schools to do the technicians and so forth. So I don't know if we could have done it much faster. Maybe if we would had funding or we had to bootstrap it ourselves. But then again, I was 21 when I started, so I don't know. Maybe it was good that it took some time, also. So it's a double-edged sword. Maybe I would have done things differently, and we could have been maybe some bit bigger now. But I'm happy also with this result. Very happy.
That's great.
What kind of warranty do you offer?
So with warranty, we have, depending on has been done. So if something has been totally taken apart and restored by our mechanics, we have 9 mechanics. That's a year in the mechanical items. If it's just been tested with testing machines and it is fully working, that's a half a year. And then we have a section called not passed, which have problems, and we tell what are the problems, and with those you get the 30-day return, but that's it.
Do you also sell spare parts?
Spare parts, no, we don't sell spare parts, basically because their unit value is so low and finding them from our warehouse will take mechanics time, and the mechanics could be repairing something valuable, so it just doesn't make monetary value or sense, but maybe one day.
What percentage of cameras do you actually sell as film cameras? Because
So
it's pure and enthusiastic
Yeah.
thing, to be honest.
yeah, so from our sales, I would say film cameras this year, digital cameras have made a lot of growth for us. So maybe this year is the first year in a long time that over 50% are digital cameras again.
Yeah.
But for a long time we had like almost 70% of our sales or 80% came from film cameras. So it was quite a like
Yeah. And I do have a film camera left somewhere.
Yeah.
But where do you get the films nowadays?
So film was so high in demand that there was shortages in 2020 to 2023.
Okay.
Kodak was the last one doing it.
Yeah.
So now that has changed. So there's a factory now in China doing it, there's a factory in the UK doing it, and there's a factory in Germany doing it.
Right.
So now there's four sources of color film. Black and white film was available from many sources all the time.
Yeah.
But color film has returned to be available from 4 sources, 4 different factories in the last year.
Okay, well,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.